Alright, my food mood friends, welcome. Chandra Zas and Odyssey. As always, I'm really stoked that you're here. Thank you. I'm going to touch on, perhaps even go deep on this concept that I have been really pushing this last little bit for myself and my clients of processed foods. And I have to kind of be upfront, or I want to be really upfront, that I'm personally processing some emotions right now. And so I'm feeling not super clear and not super on. And I'm going to record anyway. I'm going to talk to you guys about what's on my mind and what's been going on in the processed world. If you're following me, you know that right now I just launched a challenge, a 14-day challenge to cut out processed foods for 14 days and feel the difference. Feel what it feels like in your own physical body to not have processed foods in your body. And it's been really cool. I've been creating tons of content and really examining and diving deeper and asking questions that has helped me really wrap my brain around clearly defining what and why. So processed foods, I'm defining as something that has been handled by factories and has had a stamp of process on it. So, which is a little bit tricky because there's a lot of things that are processed. I mean, even technically you could say that our fruits and vegetables are processed because they're shipped and packaged. And so I'm going to leave all of the whole foods by themselves. So you got your fruits and your vegetables and your whole grains and your olive oil and your salt and all of these very, very simple ingredients that are still processed. And that's why I'm saying low to no processed is okay. And then I'm having my challengers totally dive in and examine everything else that's in their fridge. All of the bottles, all of the packages, all of the things that we consume and we consider to be food, but that are actually covered in stabilizers and preservatives and even pesticides. And what happens when we take those out of our diet? What happens when we stop eating those for a couple weeks? Does it feel different? That's the big question. So why I presented this and why I think it's so important is because when we consume these man-made chemicals, these man-made preservatives and things that we are adding to food, additives, food dyes, all of these things, what happens is that it makes it really hard for our body to digest. And not only digest, but also to even use. So the easiest foods for our body to really digest and absorb and use and soak up the nutrients and really put to use inside of our body are the whole, slow foods, the foods that are not packaged and preserved. When foods have additives and chemicals and stuff, our body tries to use them, but really it takes a lot of energy, and most of the time our bodies are so full of other stuff it's trying to process that oftentimes it ends up storing stuff. This might sound kind of weird, and I do agree with you that it does sound weird. I happen to be this crazy sensitive person who lives in this body that's really sensitive. I am aware of things in my body that I have come to realize that a lot of people are not aware of. Although I have met people who do have sensitivities and awarenesses similar to mine, but it's not really common. But it is possible to gain these sensitivities and these awarenesses and to really feel the difference. It takes some time and it takes some attention and it takes some energy, attention, and energy to practice feeling things and to spend time noticing and observing, because it's really easy to just stay doing the same thing, which is what most of us do with food. We kind of we grow up eating certain things and everyone around us is eating certain things, and there's this normalcy to eating processed foods that gets us all kind of just on this hamster wheel. And so my goal of my food challenge is to give people a avenue to get off of the hamster wheel and to try something new. And one of the really important components of my program is bringing a buddy, because we're meant to eat and to be in connection with other people. And so doing something alone has a much less likelihood of succeeding versus like bringing someone else who maybe you commonly eat with, or who you break bread with, or someone who you share ideas with. So processed foods, where I draw my hard line, my personal hard line. Right now I'm following the challenge. I'm doing everything that I'm encouraging my challengers to do. But where I draw the hard line is at trans fats, man-made trans fats. It's one of the worst things for us. The hydrogenation process the oil goes through is very hard, next to impossible for our body to digest and use. This is one of my really hard lines. Flour and sugar are processed, and what happens in the process is they create a high concentration of glucose, which is really hard for our body to deal with. And so our body responds negatively in order to deal with high levels of sugar that come into our body, which also are highly addictive to our brain, to the part of our brain that loves dopamine and serotonin and feeling good, that big dopamine hit. It's a really hard sell, because we can eat things, we can put things in our mouth that our body can just deal with short term. It's like, I'm thinking of this TED Talk I watched one time of someone was explaining a toilet, and how a lot of people just think that a toilet is this magic thing that makes things disappear. And how there was a whole education piece about like teaching people that like when you put something in a toilet, it goes somewhere, and someone else has to deal with it, or the plantation or the septic system or something. And re-educating people that like what you need to like be aware of what you're putting in your toilet. And I feel like I'm on a similar mission with like gut health. Like, it matters what you put in your mouth. Like, yes, you can flush something down a toilet, but that doesn't mean that it's good for the system that's behind the toilet. So it's the same thing. Like, how many things do we put in our mouth that are actually not good for, like, the reason we're supposed to be eating is to nourish our body. But we're eating for all kinds of other reasons. We're eating because it tastes good. We're eating because other people are doing it. We're eating because people are offering us things. We're eating because we've been taught to solve emotional problems with food. Like, we're eating for all kinds of reasons that are not to nourish our body. And so the most basic gut health thing is like, put things in your mouth that fuel your body, that take care of your body. And that's it. And don't put the other things in your mouth. But So to get even more defined on that is like, don't put processed things in your mouth. Like, they're just not, it's not good for your body to try to process it. Processing processed foods is not a process you want to put yourself through. I haven't said that line before. That was funny. So, baseline gut health. Don't eat processed foods. Just don't do it. But what does that mean to actually do that? It's a whole radical lifestyle change for most of us. Even my partner and I, who are like very dedicated to putting like only fuel in our mouth, even we're sitting here this morning, it's day 1 of the challenge, and like we have an oat milk that I know is not the best thing for our gut, but it tastes good and it's probably not that bad. And I'm like looking at the oat milk today, I'm like, what are we going to do? We're going to throw this away? Like, I love this oat milk. I want coffee right now with this oat milk in it. And just watching my own internal battle over something rather small. I mean, some of you guys are battling, some of you guys also, but my challengers, they're battling Oreos, they're battling pastries, they're battling wine, they're battling like heavy hitting dopamine, like big hooks that are, for a lot of people, like something that's really, like, it's one of the better parts of their day are those moments where they get that big dopamine serotonin hit of that food that makes them feel so good in the moment, but then causes the bellyache and the brain fog and the bloating. I was talking to one of my really good friends yesterday about this, and I was asking him why not do the challenge, and he said, honestly, he's like, the food that I eat, especially at dinner, is like the highlight of my day. And I I really appreciate his honesty because it's a very, very honest answer, and it's a very common answer of why not to make food changes. And I want to propose, if this is where you're at, I want to offer you this idea that what if we have a limited amount of pleasure or desire? And what if you're using all of yours on food? And if you didn't use it on food, what other things in life might be more pleasurable or more desirable, or what else could you put that energy towards? What else, what cool projects or what relationships, or where could you potentially put that energy? I'll tell you that where I have put a lot of my energy is in creating this content and creating this business for you. This is where so much of my desire and my pleasure come from, and where I am putting this energy and growing this energy. And it is a totally different frequency, and I get high off of doing this with you guys, of creating this. It's not always high moments. There's definitely low moments, but the energy that I get from putting my energy here is incredible. And so I want to ask you, if food is not the highlight of your day, if that dopamine hit from eating a man-made processed food, I hate calling it food, man-made processed calorie, is the pleasure of your day, where else might you want to feel pleasure? What if pleasure is like programmable? What if you could program your brain? You could create some new neural pathways. You could change the way your days work, and you could feel pleasure somewhere else. Where would you want that to be? I really highly, as your local gut health coach, I really encourage you to deprogram this pleasure and this super hit of dopamine that you're getting from processed foods, from man-made processed foods. Because the thing is that they're not nourishing you. They're not filling your body up with nutrients. And oftentimes, not only are you not getting the nutrients, you're also getting the chemicals and the things that your body has to really struggle to process. I know that the process of getting off processed foods is intense. It's a lot. It's big. It's really, really, really big. It's challenging. It's consuming. But it's a game changer. It's really a game changer when it comes to not only your gut health, but your brain health. Imagine all those chemicals that you're putting in your body. I read something a couple days ago that we all ingest, we each ingest 14 pounds of of pesticides a year. 14 pounds of pesticides. So think about, the way that I think about it is that I want to make my body work as little as possible. So I want to make it as easy as possible on my body to function and heal and maintain as possible. So what does that mean? I just cut out all the processed stuff. I eat as little as pesticides as possible, as little as preservatives as possible. I just simplify so that my body doesn't have to work so hard. So what do you think? You want to give it a shot? I think it's worth it. And if this challenge sounds interesting to you, I really encourage you to go to my website and get on the wait list. I will open up another one. There was so much excitement and so much interest, and it was so cool to hear about how many people's ears are perked to gut health. I feel like it's a really special time. So if you're interested, get on the wait list. I will open up another challenge when the time comes, and I'll notify you. And as always, have a beautiful day, and don't eat the processed foods. Go through the process of learning how to not eat processed foods and fill your body up with nutrients. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.